Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And if you're an Xbox Game Pass subscriber, you probably already have a game or two to play, maybe 5 or 10 in your backlog, and that's probably being generous here. But that's the thing about Game Pass. It just never really slows down, which is even more evident today as they just announced the first wave of April Game Pass games, which actually included 2 day one first-party releases. So we're going to go over those today, as well as a rumor that PlayStation could be working on a new PlayStation Portable console. I mean, okay, I'd love it personally. You all know I love the PlayStation Vita, possibly one of my favorite consoles ever made. But we'll get into that one as well, and whether or not there could actually be any truth to these rumors. As always, though, we do have a lot to get into today. Do hit those buttons below for more content just like this. But yeah, let's just go and get right into it, starting off with Quantum Break. Now, that's a game that takes us back to last generation, but this one kind of caught some fans off guard as Quantum Break, a first-party Xbox game, was listed as one of the games set to be removed from Xbox Game Pass later this month. Now, that's very odd considering this is a first-party game, and these games are supposedly supposed to stay in the service indefinitely. So fans were just kind of freaking out about this whole situation. What exactly is happening here? Did Microsoft lie about first-party games staying in Game Pass, or did they maybe even sell the IP back to Remedy Entertainment, much like they did Alan Wake? Well, I'm here to let you all know, if you've heard either of those assumptions online, well, they're both wrong. And this is actually a much more logical and straightforward explanation, as is the case most of the time when it comes to this type of stuff. It simply comes down to licensing issues. We've seen this happen in the past with games like Forza Horizon, and the same can be said for Quantum Break. Both Remedy and Xbox came out to clarify the situation, and we'll just go and take a look here as to exactly what Remedy posted. Don't worry, Quantum Break will be coming back to Game Pass. It is being temporarily removed due to some licenses that expired that were in the process of being renewed. We will let you know as soon as it is back. So, there you go, fret not, but I will say this much. I do believe Quantum Break is one of Xbox's more underrated titles. I almost feel like it was a casualty to the backlash that Xbox One received pretty much all last generation long. It was really just such an easy console to beat up on. But if you are looking for a fun cinematic-driven experience with a fun overall story, I also enjoy the time manipulation mechanics. It still looks good all these years later, so yeah, I definitely recommend Quantum Break. So do go check it out when it comes back to Game Pass, or better yet, if you want, you might be able to find it physically for a good price, or you can even buy it digitally for $8 right now. Now, Nintendo also just announced a new Switch Online game, this time for the Nintendo 64, and this one takes me back to my childhood here. I poured countless hours into this game as a kid, being Pokemon Stadium. It will make its Switch Online debut on April 12th. Now, if you don't know what Pokemon Stadium is, it's more or less a traditional turn-based Pokemon, similar to the mainline titles, but without the adventure part. It does comprise of 80 different battles and a bonus after you complete them. You also have an announcer that actually commentates on your matches, and even though there's no overarching story or anything like that, it's still a pretty fun game to play. I mean, as a kid, the thing about this game was that it was just so amazing to see Pokemon in 3D. Now, there's also several mini games to play around with, many of which I do remember being pretty fun. I mean, we'll kind of have to see how well they hold up all these years later, but I will say this much. The visuals, I do still think that they look pretty decent all these years later. I think it holds up fairly well, and what a blast from the past. If anything else, this could be a fun nostalgia trip to play on Switch Online while we all wait for those inevitable Pokemon Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games, which, I mean, theoretically should have functionality with Pokemon Stadium, as you used to be able to transfer Pokemon from Red, Blue, and Yellow. In the meantime, though, if you grew up with the Pokemon franchise, our childhood is just kind of coming back here on Switch Online, with both Pokemon Snap and Pokemon Stadium now being available on Switch Online. Now, speaking of subscription services, let's just go ahead and talk about Xbox Game Pass, as they just announced the first wave of April games, and this is a big month for them with 2 first-party day one releases. We'll go over both of those here in just a second, but as you can see here, this lineup includes 5 new titles, being Iron Brigade, Ghostwire Tokyo, Minecraft Legends, Loop Hero, and then NHL 23, as that EA Play partnership continues to deliver. So obviously right away, the 2 big inclusions here are those first-party titles, first of which is Ghostwire Tokyo. Now, this game released exclusively on PlayStation last year, as they did sign a time contract before Xbox acquired Bethesda, but here we are now in 2023, and it will release on April 12th for Xbox, including, of course, Xbox Game Pass. Gotta absolutely love it. And better yet here is that they are treating this as a definitive release with brand new content that will make it even better than what it was previously. Keep in mind, the same content will also release for other platforms that it's already available on, being PC and PlayStation, but this does include additional areas to explore, new story cutscenes, quality of life improvements, a bonus game mode, plus more. So this is one of those situations where the wait might be well worth it. Other than that, though, you can see that Ghostwire Tokyo has a spooky and mesmerizing world that's always been kind of one of its selling points, being very atmospheric. It is based on, of course, as you guessed, a haunted Tokyo. And there's also an abundance of powers that you can unlock for fast and flashy gameplay. Either which way, though, if you haven't already played this game, this is a very welcome addition to Game Pass, especially with some of the improvements that they're making. And really, I mean, with that said, the studio behind this game, Tango Gameworks, they have been really big for Game Pass this year with both Hi-Fi Rush and now here with Ghostwire Tokyo, again, with it releasing on April 12th. Now, as for Minecraft Legends, this will release on April 18th, and just considering the popularity of Minecraft, this will have a lot of eyes on it, but as you can see here, this one is quite a bit different than what Minecraft players are typically used to. This is Mojang once again toying around with different ideas and just kind of experimenting with the Minecraft IP. This time they're trying their hands with a strategy game. Hopefully it does turn out to be another hit combination, though what I will say here is that based on its overview, it does sound like that it's got some potential. Of course, with one of the big features in Minecraft being building, that is a central component here in Minecraft Legends, where you can use your own creativity to build elaborate fortresses to keep your enemy out. Being Minecraft, of course, there's also a number of different mounts that you can take advantage of, and again, I mean, it just looks like a fun strategy game with a Minecraft spin on it. Again, it will release directly in the Game Pass on April 18th. As for these other games, though, Loop Hero is one to pay attention to. This is one of those hidden gems that you might want to give a try, kind of like Vampire Survivors. It's not necessarily much to look at per se, and it does have relatively simple mechanics, but with that said, it's also highly addictive with a fun gameplay loop, no pun intended. It's basically a roguelike with a card-based system where you kind of form the world around you as the hero regains memories. It sounds a little strange on paper, but I'll put it this way. If you look on Steam, you can see 93% of all reviews do recommend Loop Hero, and that's out of 27,000 plus reviews. That's always a great sign, so definitely go check this one out when it releases. Well, actually, today. All in all, though, I think this is a pretty solid lineup of games. I'm definitely looking forward to Minecraft Legends myself. Again, if you haven't tried Ghostwire Tokyo, definitely check that one out. But, I mean, this is just another month of people's backlog seemingly growing larger and larger with just countless games coming to Game Pass. Now, let's go talk about some intriguing PlayStation news that's caught a lot of attention online. People are just running with this story, but what's happening here is that Tom Henderson mentioned that Sony has more hardware planned. That's not the rumored PlayStation 5 Pro. On live stream, he mentioned, quote-unquote, there's another piece of Sony hardware that'll be released before the Pro that I'm more likely to talk about very soon. So whatever he's talking about, it does sound like the announcement is possibly incoming. And something else that he mentioned was that he's also curious as to what competitors will think about this new unannounced device. But it's that last part that's catching so much attention because it almost makes it sound like it's something completely different than your typical device. So now there's all this speculation online as to what exactly he's referring to, and one common assumption here is that he could be talking about a new PlayStation Portable console. Again, keep in mind that this is only community speculation for the time being, but I have to be honest with you all here. I would absolutely jump at the idea of a console like this if it were to be true. The Vita, even though not necessarily a very well-supported console by PlayStation themselves, it was still a great console, and with all the advancements to mobile gaming in recent years, it would be interesting to see Sony's take on handhelds in 2023. I mean, we've seen the Steam Deck and what it can do. It's had some success, and it runs a good portion of AAA games at a good price point. So maybe Sony could come out with a PlayStation Vita 2, if you will, that could, maybe run PlayStation 5 games at a lower setting. I mean, one of the issues that Sony had with the Vita was that they were splitting up their studios. Some of them were making home console games, while others, like Sony Bend Studios as an example, were mainly focused on handheld. And they really seemed to struggle with supporting both at the same time, but if they went the Steam Deck route instead, where it can play most games at a lower setting, there could maybe be a market for that. In fact, Japan, they love their handhelds. So if Sony managed to make a new handheld console, they could gain back some of that market in Japan that they've lost to Nintendo here in recent years. However, though, and it's important to keep in mind, the mystery still remains. Even though I do like the idea of a new PlayStation handheld console, again, I do love the Vita myself, the fact remains, this could really be anything. It could be a cloud-based machine, it could be a new headset, a new phone, a controller, a new TV, or just a number of different things. Tom Henderson did previously leak out those Sony monitors as an example, so I mean this could be outside the realms of just simply PlayStation. So what I'm trying to say here is that it's probably best not to get our hopes up too much, but let me know, if you were to dream, would you be interested in a new PlayStation handheld if they were to go in that direction? I know I would. Now, speaking of hardware, this is a small update for you, but as a part of Earth Day, Xbox is celebrating with a brand new controller. As you can see, it has a green earthy theme to it that fits in with Earth Day, and it even has a smooth topographic finish to its handles and triggers. I think that's a pretty nice touch. I think it looks pretty good. And better yet, this controller was also made from several different recycled and reclaimed resins, which comes from water jugs, automotive headlight covers, CDs, and other controller parts. If you are interested in this controller, though, it will release on April 15th for $85, which comes included with a rechargeable battery pack and USB-C cable. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though, and with us talking about this yesterday, I wanted to ask you all, what's the most you'd be willing to spend for a handheld that can run Xbox Game Pass games locally out of the box? And yeah, this is probably not a good sign for that ROG Ally that was just announced, as 69% of you all voted for $500 or less, 11% of you all voted for $600 to $800, then 1% of you all voted for $800 to $1,000, and then another 1% of you all voted for $1,000 plus. So yeah, based on the results here, it definitely seems like this is going to be a tough market for these third parties to get into. Of course, that ROG Ally was announced over the weekend. It looks like a very powerful machine. It is being advertised with PC Game Pass in mind. I mean, it definitely looks like it has a lot of potential, at least from the spec sheet, but at the same time, that price point is absolutely paramount. And with only 11% of you all voting for $600 to $800, I mean, at the very least, it seems like there would be a small niche market for a device like this, but beyond that $800 price point, it looks like there's going to be a lot of iffy people out there. Now, do kind of keep in mind that the ROG Ally is going to do more than just play PC Game Pass games. Of course, it's going to play Steam, it's going to play Epic Game Store, anything that runs on Windows. But yes, once again, that price point is absolutely paramount. So it'll be very interesting to see what Asus announces. They say that they are targeting a very competitive price. What that actually means, that's the big question here. But hopefully they'll be able to offer it for an affordable price. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you like the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.